Welcome to More Action, the podcast for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. I'm your host, Shelly Bryan, and together we have candid conversations with industry leaders to uncover valuable wisdom and lessons learned. My hope is you use these lessons to intentionally take more action in business and life. I hope you share and enjoy. So my guess is, by seeing the title, Systems Create Freedom, we as entrepreneurs, professionals, parents, leaders, we always want more freedom. So I hope that word caught your eye in the title, because when we create systems, they allow us to have more freedom. And it almost seems like those two words are absolute like oxymorons, right? You think systems, rigid, how can that create freedom? I wanted to share something with you guys today here on the show, because more action isn't just about like taking, keep going forward, keep going forward. It's always about reflecting too, reflecting on certain situations that you were in, certain experiences, certain time frames, certain seasons, and seeing like, what the heck is going on here? Is what I am doing working for me? Where could I be more stressed? Or less stressed? Where could I be more efficient? And so I am in that season right now. We're here summer with the kids, and I was allowing myself to have a little bit more grace. And while you might think like, yeah, Shelly, of course, it's summer, you should be kids, you still have the business, but like, okay, enjoy it. Give yourself a little grace. And I was. And it was funny because it kind of felt good for a little bit. I was like, all right, I kind of backed off some of my systems, and I was like feeling a little bit like, okay, everything's still kind of working. And then it kind of didn't. And it kind of didn't because I started at like getting a little lazy. I started letting things go that I normally didn't. And it started creating more stress for me, giving myself more grace. Now, listen, this may contradict every other person you see on social media where they're like, yep, give yourself grace. And I think there is a time for that, but it's where you're giving yourself grace. And I wanted to share a little story. And then I'm going to, of course, here on the show, More Action, I am all about like giving you tactical advice that you can apply immediately, or just experiences. I'm sharing what has worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. And if we aren't connected on social media, I hope that we get connected really quick, because I share a lot of this out there as well, with different graphics. So LinkedIn, Instagram, find me under my name. Let's get connected. And hopefully you're also following the YouTube channel where you can watch this live. Now, I was working with someone in kind of like a consultant, coach, mentor type of relationship back in 2021. And it was funny because in the beginning, as we were getting to know each other more and more, she called me out a little bit and kind of, I don't want to say made fun of me, but was like, what, your whole life is systems. Like because I would be like, oh, I do this and da, 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 and this is how I handle this, and this is what I do here. And she's like, your whole life is systems. And I was like, yeah. And at first, like I said, she kind of was like, holy cow, you need to give yourself grace. You need to like back off, right? Because she thought I was almost too rigid. But as she got to know me more, she looked at me one day and she's like, holy cow, freedom for you is systems. And I'm like, absolutely. I have dedicated a lot of time to this over the last, 3-4 years, to minimizing daily decisions so that I can use that time and energy on really good things, on really important things, on big things that are moving the business, not, just settling and festering in my brain. And so she actually revamped some of the things that she was doing, realizing how much the systems that I had created allowed me more freedom. And if you are feeling a little bit stressed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, I offer the possible solution by creating some systems in a few areas of life. And that's what I'm going to give you here is the tactical advice in what I've done that allows me that freedom. So if this is for you, I hope you take it in, or maybe you have a friend that you could share this episode with that you know is stressed out or overwhelmed or seeking more freedom. So for me, this might sound simple, and that's where the gold is. It should be simple. Systems should be simple. Is dinner. So we are a family of 4. My son does gymnastics till about 8 p.m. at night, doesn't get home till about 8:35. Then my daughter, she is riding horses. Like, we are doing things all the time. Meanwhile, Chris and I with the construction company, we're going a million miles an hour. But one thing that is very important to me as a core value, and any other parents out there, is that I want to provide really good food for my family. We're athletes. We are wanting the most out of our bodies during the day. That I'm a huge believer that nutrition is one of them. So for me, I created a system for dinner that I know every single day of the week what we're having. I didn't Google a bunch of recipes. I didn't, go take cooking classes. I found what works for us and what's important. And for me, I always think of a protein first. And so I mix up from Monday to Friday, I mix up exactly what we're going to have. And I know each day. That way, while I'm working throughout the day, while I'm in and out of meetings, while I'm running around town, whether it's kids and or the business, I don't have to worry about what's for dinner. It's already off the plate. So that is one thing. I use protein as my initial thing. We do chicken on Monday. Tuesday is some taco, right? Whether it's like a steak, a chicken, a fish, or a shrimp. Wednesday is typically cheeseburgers. Thursday is either some type of Asian, like a Mongolian beef or something like that, and or an Italian dish like spaghetti. And Friday is pizza. That is what we have every single week as a family. Now, you might think, oh, my kids will never do that. They won't eat the same thing every day. I change up the proteins, like I said. So it is something different. But you know what? It's actually so easy for them. My son walks in after gym on Tuesday and he's like, tacos, like super excited. They know he loves burgers too. Wednesday, he's like, oh, burgers, great, done. Reese, my daughter, same thing. So by creating that, not only does it create freedom for me because I do not have to think about what's for dinner, but it also does that for my family. They know they're going to get a good wholesome meal, and I feel good because that's a good core value for me. Now, podcast recording, and really the next few, I'm going to kind of lump under calendar. Because when you create systems in your calendar, I'm actually going to dive into this a little bit more on some future episodes. So be sure that you stick around about different ways to utilize your time, be efficient, and be effective. Because there are certain times of day, certain days of the week where you can be more effective and not as effective. And so when it comes to your calendar, I block days. I need to know that these days are essentially sacred for whatever it is that I am doing. When it comes to my calendar, I look at the main tasks that are important for me to do within each week that move the needle in my business, not just things that make me feel good, checking off a to-do list, the main things. And so I look at it and go, okay, I have business development areas. I also have management of the business, right? And so I look at my schedule and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I block off certain days in my calendar so that my team knows that these are days, unless it's like the world's on fire, I'm going to be focused. They can get to me on Slack or some other method. And of course, my phone will ring. But I know that, like, for podcast recordings, that's Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So when I wake up, I know that's what I'm doing. When I get my episodes recorded, I'm done and I transition off. For business development, I save that for Thursdays and Mondays. So with those 2 days, I know and my availability in the schedule to be booked on meets that need. Then for working in the business, it is around those others. I prefer to work in big chunks of time rather than in quick little 30-minute or 15-minute intervals. And so I chunk out my week so that I know what I'm doing every single day that I wake up. Now, of course, do things blow up in my face? Sure. We're running a business. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. Like, yeah, life happens. But you know what? I can very easily fall back into, right? This is a technique to fall back into the system that I created for that day. So if I get distracted or pulled away or have to, address some fire, I can still come back. I don't lose my day. Now, regarding the calendar, another thing that falls into this is my fitness. My fitness. What does that look like? And so I have created a system for my fitness when it comes to the gym. And this takes time. All of this takes time, guys. This isn't something that you could do overnight and implement. I would recommend starting in small chunks and then seeing what feels good and what works for your schedule to ultimately create freedom. And being able to set a barometer of, okay, cardio, I do 3 days a week. Gym, I do lifting a minimum of 2 days a week. And so once I book out my schedule, then I'm able to go back and I know on the gym days, what muscles I'm working each day, what muscle groups I'm working each day, so that I'm able to get a more intense full body workout each day. This has taken time, like I said. And so that's probably one of the biggest indicators when it comes to creating systems to get more freedom, is that if your systems are pulling away from freedom, it's time to go back to the drawing board, make a couple adjustments, and try again. The systems that work for you will be different than mine. I simply wanted to share mine so that you could understand how this can be applied for family dinners. It can be applied for if you have a podcast and you're running a podcast, if you're doing business development versus management in your business, if it's for fitness, if it's for date night. These systems all make it so that I know what's going on what day. There's no questions and it's easy to do. And so start small. I encourage you, start small. Pick one area that you find you are getting a little bit more stressed or overwhelmed in, and then start there. Figure it out. Watch some people that maybe are a few steps ahead of you, see what they're doing. Reach out via DMs like, hey, I see that you're doing this. How do you schedule that? Stick around, follow here on the show, subscribe here on the show. I'm going to be providing efficiency and time is so important to me. It's one thing that we all only have 24 hours in each day. And so I am currently diving in to learn more about various time management and productivity hacks. So I'm going to be bringing all of that out on shows. So make sure you stick around here. But I hope this episode just gave you a little bit of a fresh perspective. If you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, or if you are seeking a way to gain more freedom, if you jumped into entrepreneurship because you wanted the freedom and you have less freedom, that's a trigger to be like, hey, I need to do a little self-reflection. What's causing the stress? Why am I not so free? And could a system in that area alleviate some time for me? So thank you so much for tuning in. And you guys know this show is 100% because of you. I am simply passing along what is going on in my life, those of my expert guests. I cannot wait for next week's episode. You guys are going to love it. In hopes that it helps you. Wisdom is simply knowledge applied. So if I can share knowledge with you, you guys can apply it. You guys gain the wisdom. So thank you so much. Don't forget, share this out, subscribe to the show, and keep pressing on out there and taking more action.